Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Code Ordinance Enforcement Board meeting for March 11th, 2025. At this time, I'd like our clerk to call the roll, please.
Rodney Davis.
Here.
James Bruce.
Here.
Tyler Young. Tony Meacham.
Here.
David Howell.
Here.
Calvin Brooks. Connie McGahee. Mark Graham.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. At this time, would everyone please stand with me as we say the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda is approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which took place on February the 25th, 2025. Board members received a copy of those minutes in the mail, and at this time we'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor, let me know by saying of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, any reports from the staff, fire department? None, okay. All right, next on our agenda, we have public hearings. We have one case on our agenda tonight under public hearings, and so before we get into that case, I'm going to cover the procedures, read the procedures we're going to follow for tonight. Okay, so once again, good evening, everyone. My name is Rodney Davis. I am the chairman of the City of Hopkinsville Code Ordinance Enforcement Board. The purpose of this board is to protect, promote, and improve the health, safety, and welfare of citizens residing within the City of Hopkinsville. If a board member perceives a potential conflict with hearing a case, he or she shall recuse themselves from the case and will not discuss their disposition. When your name is called, please come forward. Speak loudly and clearly because we are required to record all proceedings from these hearings. You are here tonight because you received the citation and chose to appear before the board instead of paying the fine imposed on the citation. You have the right to confront and cross-examine any witnesses that might appear here against you. You have the right to call your own witnesses to testify on your behalf and to introduce any physical evidence you feel pertinent to this case. You have the right to have an attorney. If you wish to hire one to represent you, let me know and I will request the board postpone the case and enable you to do so. I have the right as chairman of the board to limit the amount of testimony which is presented. That shall be done when I determine that certain testimony is irrelevant or is repetitive. This is not the same as a court of law, and legal rules of evidence do not have to be followed. This is similar to an administrative hearing, and the requirement for the introduction of evidence are not as stringent as in a court of law, but they are nonetheless just as important to ensure a just decision. You shall be afforded all rights which are of fundamental importance to comply with due process standards of fairness and justice. The burden of establishing a violation occurs rests with the city. If the city cannot prove a violation took place, no fine or remedial measures may be imposed. After all the evidence and testimony have been introduced and the hearing has been closed, the board will make a decision. The board will decide whether or not a violation of a local ordinance has been committed. If the board determines that no violation was committed, then this board will enter an order dismissing the citation. If the board determines that a violation did take place, the board will enter an order upholding the citation and will order you to pay a fine in an amount up to the maximum authorized by ordinance and may order you to remedy the violation within a specified period of time. In cases involving unsafe structures, the board, as part of its decision and written order, may additionally make a provision for the offender to cure the violation within a period of time not to exceed 90 days, pursuant to HCO 33.188F. Except in cases of default, the final order issued by the board may be appealed to the Christian District Court. The appeal must be filed no later than 30 days from the date the board issues its final order. The case in front of the district court will be limited to a review of the record created before this board. If you have any questions at this time, please feel free to ask. No questions? Okay, so we're going to call our first case. Code officer is Darnell West. Is he going to be presenting? It's going to be,
That's a misprint. It's Mark DeArmond.
okay, Mr. DeArmond, okay. It's going to be presenting this case for the city. It's case number CEBPM 25-01-006. Lizzie M. Word, the heirs, are they present? Anyone present? Okay, none, okay. All right, okay. So, Mr. DeArmond, you come forward. Okay, we're going to start by swearing you in. Will you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Okay, sir, can you please state your full name, employer, and position for the record?
Mark DeArmond, Code Enforcement Officer with the Hopkinsville Police Fire Department.
Okay, Mr. DeArmond, can you please tell us about this case before us on our agenda?
1205 East 19th Street came to our attention actually in 2024, and we'll get to the timeline here in a second. And if you look at it from the 2019, this was prior to a lot of windstorms. You see the overgrowth of trees around blocking this view. This structure was suffered several windstorms with tree damage to the roof, among other things, over a long period of time. And you mentioned it's the heirs of the Lizzie Ward. The mailing address is still 1205 East 19th. We have not had any contact with her or anyone of the family throughout this almost 2-year process. See, the front of the house is a lot of damage to the roof and the gutters. The house is secure. There are very limited views inside. They're only through windows. So that's what you see on the right. Notice of violation was issued in January the 8th for an unsafe structure. No conversations, nothing from the property owners. And on February 13th, a citation for an unsafe structure was issued. Certified mail sending the citations was not deliverable. There's a notice to the legal notice to the paper of the hearing for tonight. It's alluded to the timeline. In April of 24, a complaint came in regarding this property, and the inspection occurred, and there was a notice of violation for exterior damage only, nothing on the interior. There was very, very limited views inside in 2024. In June, the citation for just exterior basic property maintenance was issued. Time has passed and nothing had occurred, and another citation for the same violation was issued in September the 6th. We start our new inspection process on the first of the calendar year of 2025, so January 28th, another inspection occurred. There was more opportunity to look inside because of the curtains and the covers they had over had fallen, gave us a little bit more view of the inside, so it met the criteria for an unsafe structure. Notice of violation was issued on January 28th. No response, so a citation was issued February 13th, and we're here tonight to talk about this property. And still, no conversations or communication from the property owners. There's been no water at this house for 12 years, 2013. Electric has been off at least 9 years. That's when the system changed hands with ATS, so it could have been longer. That's all the records that they have. Likewise with Atmos Gas, they go back only 12 years, so there's no gas service, no utility services for 9 to 12 years. Some of them could be longer. The foundation, there was one gaping opening on one end into the corner of the building. You see here, you see that on the photo on the right. It's a stick out on the left at the bottom. The majority of the foundation around it was covered with tin, blocking what the structure is, where there's openings. There were 2, if not 3 openings where groundhogs had gone under it, tunneled under it. There was some bare wood exposed around the foundation, but again, most of it was covered in the metal. The exterior walls showed limited rot and deterioration around its edges. You'll see in the checklist here in a minute, that was not counted against them, but just to answer this, there was some, but and the walls were, I'll call them plumb for the lack of a better word. There was none of them falling out, none of them bulging out. They were not in that bad of shape other than some rot and decay. The porch was not counted against them. The column on the left was the sole column. It looks like there's a sag in the roof. That's literally the gutter and the soffit that the gutter was hanging on that we see sagging from the left to the right. The photo on the right is a drop-in ceiling of the porch, but none of that was structurally critical to the porch and causing it any issues. Upper left photo shows a hole in the roof.
Mr. Jarman, would you go back to that last one? I'm
Sure.
sorry to interrupt you. The picture on the right, is that the same porch as the one on the left? Because the paneling looks different.
It does look different. Don't have a good answer for that, but yes, it is the same.
Okay.
The hole in the roof on the left is obvious. There are some sagging in the roof and all around, particularly where the trees were, and it's believed that Public Works had removed those trees, but considerable damage with the gutters and the soffit and the fascia all around the roof. Chimney was severely damaged. Additional photos of the chimney from a distance and the gutters. Window frame, the window seals, wood window frames, several examples of rot and decay of the wood, one window covered in plastic. This is one of the views inside. If you look straight back in the orange-looking wall, that's a ceiling and portion of the wall that's totally gone. There were some areas, and again, I'm looking through a small section of a window from the outside in, and so it's difficult to capture where the floors had some issues. It's along the wall, and I could tell that by the baseboard, separation of the baseboard that's on the wall from the floor. But again, they're not visible in any of these photos that I was able to take. There's a large piece of fiber that's from the ceiling that's in another room. That vent, that register, is suspended from the ceiling, suspended only by the ductwork. The ceiling above all that in that room was missing other than the ceiling trusses. Electrical meter's been gone. Again, electricity's been off for some 9 years. This room had some outlets that had some damages and some ceiling lights that were missing and wires dangling, but there was no visible, could not see where the electrical box, either fuse box or circuit breaker box was located. Gas has been off for 12 years. No visible area of the plumbing. Could not see kitchen sink, bathroom areas. Those rooms were not visible, but we know the water has been off for 12 years. Foundation had some damage. The exterior walls had limited rot and decay. That was not counted against them, nor was the porch. There were no handrails. The porch was grade level. The roof had one hole and several sags and dents from the trees. Chimney was damaged. Windows were broken. Window seals and frame were in decay, and plastic over one of them. The doors and windows were secure. There was no way to get inside. The trash, there was no trash around, and it is not a mobile home, mobile structure. Again, access inside was not possible. Interior walls, floors, electrical, and ceilings did have damage through the limited visibility we had through the windows. The electric meter, is gone. Unknown about the circuit breaker box or the fuse panel, so that did not count either way. Gas meter was gone. Plumbing was inoperable because the water's been cut off. Uncertain about the plumbing fixtures. All those items were counted, but it still met 70% interior. Overall, 11 out of 18 or 61% as an unsafe structure. The owner believe the owner has allowed the structure to deteriorate, and we started our inspection in 2024, and things had deteriorated to the worst. We was able to see inside that we could not in 2024. A check of liens and taxes. The liens were some $30,000. Taxes are $175, so $31,000 plus is what's owed in liens and taxes. As of this morning, still the condition of the house.
Go back to that last picture. That structure to the left, is that part of that property, or got debris or stuff sitting in front of it, and there's a tarp over to the left? Is that all the same property?
No, it's a separate house.
Okay, any other questions?
The checklist item, floor's not solid. You go back to that. Pictures or evidence you have of that?
The clutter, as I mentioned, where I saw, and I suspected the floors where I had issues, there was an area where I saw the baseboard trim in place. The floor had sagged, leaving a gap, not being able to get in there. I felt like that was indicating that there was issues with the floor.
Say number 4?
No, floor's not solid.
Floor.
Oh, okay.
Floor's not solid. Have we had any correspondence from the heirs?
None at all.
Mr. Willand, you believe we have met our obligation as far as notification? Thank you.
If we gave them credit for the floors, we're still at 55%.
Any other questions
Thank you.
for Mr. DeArmond? Board members? Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to close the hearing on this case so the board can deliberate in open session. We first need to determine whether or not a violation was committed by a motion or a second, but the floor is open for discussion if necessary.
This one, to me, is a little bit. We've seen some pretty bad ones recently. This one, the building itself, to me, is almost borderline. But the fact that we don't have a property owner present at all, it's not getting any better. The holes in the roof and things like that are just going to continue to get worse, and there's no activity at all from the property owner standpoint. So those are my thoughts about this one.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second that there is a violation for this property. Any questions on the motion? All in favor, let me know by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And now we will discuss the penalty, minimum of $350, maximum $700, plus there's a $200 admin fee. And so the floor is open for discussion regarding penalty or entertain a motion. Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor, let me know by a sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Next on our agenda, unfinished business other than hearing, there's none. New business other than hearings, there's none. Announcement from any board members or staff? There's none? Okay, so we'll stand adjourned for this meeting. Thank you.
You take those with you.